I've been a Buffy fan for about 15 years, and part of me is a little grumpy that it took me so long to read these. Hi guys, it's April, and I'm gonna do this review the same way I do all of my other reviews. I'm gonna have the non-spoilery section up front, followed by the spoiled filled dump afterwards. In case you don't want to be spoiled, I will let you know when that happens and you can make the choice then. However, I will mention that since this series is based off of the original Buffy TV series, there will be spoils for that show. Otherwise, let's just get into it. Buffy Season 8, the comics. I am not going to hold all 8 of these volumes, but there are 8 volumes in Season 8. All of these continue on after the last episode of Buffy Season 7. Here we have all of the Slayers being activated, how they're forming groups and factions, and trying to continue to protect the world from evil. Of course, when you have that many girls suddenly come into power, you're not going to have total agreement on how things should be handled. So not all of the Slayers are necessarily within Buffy's mindset. And then we also have this new big bad coming onto the scene named Twilight. Each of these volumes contains several different parts which were released as issues. Each of the issues can contain their own stories or be a continuation of a whole, but it does bring back a lot of very familiar characters. You have the original Scooby Gang, you have a lot of old school rivals and friends and acquaintances from Sunnydale showing up in Season 8 to play their own little part in the story of Twilight. I really enjoyed the art. It was all beautifully done, and I did like seeing all of those past characters come back. And if you have plans to ever pick up the new Slayer series by Kirsten White, this has a lot of backstory that series references, so you'll know how they got to that point. It did bring back a lot of very nostalgic feels. There were moments that I was just squealing in excitement, but I have to say, there were moments that were supposed to be surprise moments where these characters came back, but because the art style is the way it is, it was kind of hard to recognize who the characters were supposed to be until you got some context clues later on. I also struggled a little bit with some of the story arc because with bringing back a lot of old characters and how they managed to come back, it wasn't always explained. And you had to wonder why we kept on rehashing the same scenarios that we had done in previous series. It felt like we were doing the same old things over and over and over again. Because we were bringing a lot of the older characters back from the past and not always getting a clear explanation of how that was even possible, there were times that we were rehashing events and similar life choices that happened in the original series once again here in these volumes. I enjoyed seeing all of the old characters, but there were points where there was so much compacted into these 8 volumes and the storyline wasn't given enough time to breathe that some of the new characters suffered because of it. There were times where you were introduced to new characters and then things would happen and it felt like you were supposed to get the impact of those events, but because you never really got to form a bond with the new characters and how quickly all of it went down, you never really got to the point where you ultimately cared because they became the red shirts of the story. This season also continues on right in the dark, angsty feel of Season 7. There are a few moments of the very classic Buffy whip moments that you get between some of the original Scooby Gang, but there isn't a lot of it. And I found myself craving it a lot more, especially since these were so compact and there was so much going on and there was so much angst going on. I wanted a little bit more of that comic relief that we didn't necessarily get in these. I am very glad that I read this season. Am I completely thrilled about it? No. There are a lot of things that I just find extremely dumb, but that could typically be said about a lot of the different seasons of Buffy, especially as it continued on later in the seasons. Do I recommend reading it if you are an avid Buffy fan? Definitely, because you will get a continuation of all of those characters that are canon. I do want to continue on with season 9 just because of where some of this left off and the fact that I just want to see where it goes. And while there were moments that I found really dumb and volumes that I liked less than other ones, there were enough moments that just brought me back to that Buffyverse that just made me so happy that I am very glad that I read it and I own it, and I really want to see where this goes. So this is the point in my review, which I'm going to start getting into some more spoiled-filled stuff. So if you don't want to be spoiled for season 8 of Buffy, leave now, read, come back, and we'll start a conversation. Otherwise, hang around and grab some popcorn. I think my biggest issue with this season is the fact that we have Angel as Twilight, and we had this very weird reunion moment where we had all of this sex to create a new universe. To me, the Angel chapter had kind of been closed. Never mind the fact that how did everything end at the end of Angel for us to get to this point where Spike and Angel could show up in this comic? What happened between that season finale and now that allowed all of this to happen? Because I'm a little confused because it was not looking good, and maybe there's some pieces that I'm missing in there. If you know, just tell me so I can go figure out all of that. Otherwise, the whole Angel thing, I've never really been a huge fan of that. And so to see that be the main climax of season 8 just rubbed me the wrong way. And just how out there Buffy was for the whole season. I mean, the things that she did sexually, the things that she just did because she's Buffy, and I get it, she's suddenly this leader of all of these Slayers and she's having some Buffy angst moments, but come on, really? I feel like some of it was done for some queer baiting and others of it was just so we could have naked people on the pages. Possibly, I don't know. I don't know. And then we have the whole thing with Dawn and Xander. No, not really feeling that one at all. Especially since at the beginning he was almost feeling like a fatherly type figure with the interactions he was having with Dawn. It's weird. I don't know, but it's out there now is a thing. And I had to say this last volume kind of devastated me a little bit because we lost Giles, and I didn't really want that. There were moments within the Buffy series where Giles was just driving me nuts. He was an idiot, but it's Giles. And how can we lose Giles? That's basically how I don't know how to form a chord. I don't know how to state how that just kind of hit me. And I know through all of this, the whole point of season 8 and starting this comic was to continue on for the very hardcore Buffy fans, which is why we were bringing back a lot of past big bads like Warren, and then we threw Amy into the mix and the Master. That's what I don't understand, is how we could bring some of those guys back, especially since we figured we were done with that. I read season 8. It is a thing I did. I'm not mad that I did. Not super excited about a lot of it, but it does give me hope for season 9 and better things to come. We'll see. Tell me down below what your thoughts are on Buffy season 8. I would love to hear them. This was just a brief overview of the whole of season 8 because, I mean, there's a lot of pages here and a lot of things that happened in between those pages. So I would love to start a conversation with you. Just leave your thoughts down below. And of course, if you want to see more content like this, subscribe, and I heart your beautiful faces. Bye.